Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host this evening, Matt High, joined by Chris Felice. Chris, how are we doing? How was your Week 15?
Week 15 was good. Unfortunately, I'm in not too many playoffs this year. I'm in 4, one of them being Vampire, so that one doesn't matter too much. I should win that, hopefully. Hopefully everything goes well. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think, knocking on wood right now, I believe I won every single league that I'm in heading to the next round. I didn't have a bye in any of my leagues, so I had to fight through all of them. So as long as something crazy happens in these 2 Monday Night Football games that we're recording this right now, I think I'm good. How about you, Matt?
Nice. I had a mixed bag this week. Got steamrolled by Joe in the one league I am in with him. Lamar Jackson, who Joe has, scored more points by himself than about 4 of my players. So that basically goes to show you how well my team is in that league. Thank you, Patrick Mahomes and CJ Stroud. Real cool dudes. In Dynasty, as you guys know, I had the bye because I stole it from Joe. But I do want to say congratulations, Joe. You are going to beat me this week upcoming, week 16, because my team
No. Negation, foul play. He's trying to do this voodoo stuff. Negate.
It's
not
not
going to
voodoo.
happen. Hey, Matt, dude, it's honestly kind of crazy that you've built such an awesome team that will last for generations and you're just going to win like championship. It's crazy. Yeah, we're not letting him do this. You're not going to do this on the podcast. You're not doing this on the podcast. All right.
I just did.
Not doing
It's out there in the
You didn't.
ether.
I negated it.
Congrats, Joe.
Over.
But we're going to talk
Nope.
about our wonderful, wonderful waivers. There's a good chance that you may have lost a few players this week. There were a couple injuries to talk about that we're going to need to kind of sift through. But as always, let's dive into waivers. All right, so as always, we're going to start with the quarterback position, and we have to start with Aaron Rodgers on the New York Jets. 35% roster, gets the Rams this week, coming off a really, really good game, which this is the game, the past couple weeks, one of us on the podcast has said, target the Jacksonville Jaguars defense because they're really, really bad, and they give up a lot of points. Well, the past 2 weeks sucked, and this past week, it took a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers to basically break the wall. So his stat line this past week, 36 pass attempts, 16 completions for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, 6 for 45 on the ground, and a 2-point conversion. Now, let's say you possibly lost Geno Smith, or you're just not happy at quarterback. He's on the waivers. What are you doing? Who are you starting Aaron Rodgers over, let's say, Jameis Winston?
No, you want to know why? So here's my thought. Right, the 16 for 36 scares me a lot. This is tough because I know he's putting up like a 3,000-yard season right now. I know on paper, Rodgers looks like he's having an all right season, maybe even a good season. You could go on and kind of go on as far as to say, but that doesn't convert well half the time, and I don't know if I'm going to trust that going up against the Rams, who are, compared to the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, better. So I think I'd rather have Jameis Winston over Rodgers. I'd rather have a decent amount of people over Rodgers. I mean, I'm looking at the list that we have right now. There's only one person here that I would be a little hesitant of starting over Aaron Rodgers.
And I was mistaken. It was not 36 pass attempts. It's a little better. 30. So just over 50%.
It is a little. No, honestly, that is a little better. It is definitely a little better. Still a little scary. But that's definitely a lot better than 36. I know 6 doesn't sound like a huge number, but it does when you have to, remember that, a 3 and out is 3 passes and then you're out. That's the ball. So those 6 passes is actually huge in terms of how often they had the ball and how long they held on to it.
All right, yeah. Let's test this really quick. All right, Aaron Rodgers,
Okay.
CJ Stroud.
Like this upcoming week.
Yep, week 16. You
Oh,
need
aren't they going up
this.
against Kansas City?
They are.
That whole line there is that all those receivers are healthy, right?
Yes, minus Stephon Diggs, but he's been out of the equation for a while now.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with CJ Stroud.
It's bold. It's bold. It's a dilemma. I have CJ Stroud in our dynasty league, and I am terrified to play him. Originally, it was going to be Jared Goff that I was scared of in the playoffs, but turns out he gonna be just fine. Cause
what's he ranked right now? I'm gonna check what he's ranked right now.
Who? Stroud?
Jared Goff.
Yeah, you look that up while I talk about the next guy here. Jameis Winston is our next guy. 33% gets the Bengals this week. 25 pass attempts, 16 completions, 146 yards, 3 interceptions. Had a really, really bad game last week. What's the number? Where are we sitting on Goff?
He is currently QB 7.
7. Okay.
I just want to make sure we're all aware of this. I'm the only one that had him in our top 12 coming into this season. The rest of y'all did not, or top 15. It was one of the two. The rest of y'all did not have him in there. None of you mentioned him. I was the believer. All right.
I'm gonna fact check you on that because I thought I had him kind of high too. But what are your thoughts on Jameis Winston?
I like him a lot more than Aaron Rodgers. Only because he's going against the Bengals defense, which is like god awful. It is so humanely bad. That defense there, I like it a lot more, and he's a slugger, And there's I feel like a better chance of him getting you those points than Aaron Rodgers. So I like him a lot more. If you're having quarterback issues, I'd rather have Jameis Winston.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think the matchup this week is a lot better for Jameis. The Bengals defense, I mean, they're hit or miss, man. But when they miss hard. There's a reason why that team has to put up 30-plus points a game. And you were right. You had him inside your top 10 at QB9. I was a low guy on him at 13. So, still on the fringe, but okay,
I am so smart. And by smart, I mean I trust, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs and all those other guys. I trust the high-octane offense.
Yeah. You also had Joe Burrow at 10, so just got to throw that out there.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
So,
I did predict it. I did predict a little regression. That was wrong. He's like, what, QB2?
Something like that, yeah.
Something crazy?
Yeah, something crazy like that. Next guy here, I have to mention him because he's going up against our beloved New York Football Giants next week. Kirk O'Chains. I'm not going to hit the drop because he doesn't deserve it yet. He does not deserve the drop. He did throw a touchdown. He's playing right now. We're recording this Monday Night Football. He did throw a 30-yard touchdown to Drake London, so congratulations on your first touchdown in about a month. So the Giants, they just are really, really bad on the defensive side of the ball. Baltimore was able to do whatever, whenever, however they wanted against the Giants. So that's just, I think it's wheels up for every Falcon. Even Kyle Pitts might have a good game. Even Kyle Pitts might have a good game.
Once again, another quarterback I'd rather have over Aaron Rodgers here. I love this kind of dynamic that if you really need a quarterback, the Jameis Winston and Kirk Cousins I think are equally as kind of tantalizing here. I don't know if I'd kind of swing one way or the other at the moment. Obviously, it's going to depend on how the end of this game goes. God forbid, knocking on wood, nothing horrible happens there. But all else fails, I think these two are probably, you have Geno Smith happen to you. If you had Mahomes, and that happened to you, if you have a really bad matchup at quarterback next week, maybe have who are the Broncos facing next week?
I do not know yet.
They're like the number one defense in fantasy football right now. I mean, like you're not, I think I'd rather have anybody over we're facing them. They're playing lights out on defense right now.
Yeah. Now, I have this friend who is coming off a bye, going against somebody, and he needs a quarterback this week. He has C.J. Stroud and Kirk Cousins. Now, in that situation, who do you think would be the? Who should I tell my friend to play? Really important matchup.
CJ Stroud or Kirk Cousins?
Yeah. Again, asking for a friend.
Yeah. Asking for a friend?
Yeah, real good friend.
That friend to you?
My friend is not me. Of course not. Why?
No.
How dare you ask that question?
So I think it's tough on two angles here. It's tough because on one end, CJ Stroud has to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs defense, which is very good. Kirk Cousins has to go up against the New York Giants, which is very bad. For the Giants, it's good for Kirk Cousins. Right? The offense there hasn't been as both offenses haven't been nearly as functional as we would have liked it. I believe you asked this question before the show, and I think I gave a different answer. I'm going to give right now. I think I'm actually thinking about it. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins.
I will be sure to let my friend, obviously not me, know that. Thank you.
Of course. No problem, Matt.
So speaking of Patrick Mahomes, he is now dealing with an ankle injury. He is week to week. So Carson Wentz, should Patrick Mahomes miss time, which we saw this last year, I think it was, or the year before, he went down to an injury, and it was like, there's no way he's playing. Like, their season's going to just crumble. And he was out there next game and lit it up. So there's a good possibility that he doesn't miss any time because you either miss, like, no games or you miss a couple. So in this situation, I do think Carson Wentz is just a precautionary ad. You hope you don't need to put him in your lineup because I don't know how you could put him in your lineup, but at the same time, the Chiefs just set themselves up for success. So, what are you thinking for Carson Wentz? Is he just
So, this is where Carson Wentz is at. Okay, you had a horrible. You had Geno Smith or Patrick Mahomes, right? You go to free agency. You're like, okay, all right. I know who I'm targeting. I'm targeting James Winston or Kirk Cousins. Hell, Aaron Rodgers, whatever, right? You put waiver claims for all three of them, okay? But you're in a 12-man league, and all 12 guys are paying attention. Why? I don't know, but that's where we're at right now, okay? And all the good other quarterbacks are off the board, okay? And now you're sitting there, and you have a choice to make, okay? Winston is gone, Cousins is gone, Rodgers is gone. Why? Who knows? Who cares? That's not the point, okay? In that desperate situation, and only in that desperate situation where there is physically no other better option, do you even bother picking up Carson Wentz, right? I don't like the reserve pick when at this point it's crunch time and you might want those bench spots for something a little more stable as like a backup or something else for like one of those course positions of running back or wide receiver. There are plenty of quarterbacks, in all honesty, that will just get you the serviceable like 15 points. You just have to kind of be okay with that sometimes if you're dealing with an injury, rather than trusting Carson Wentz, who's going up against a tough Houston Texans defense. They're not a cakewalk by any means. There's a chance he gets you like 10 points, and that's simply not enough for a quarterback. So definitely I'm fading Carson Wentz almost in his entirety. Like, I would literally have to see nothing left. Like, Daniel Jones would have to be there for me, and he's not even playing, right? So that's my thought process.
You forget the most important part about the Carson Wentz addition and potential play. It's Carson Wentz, so just don't do it. Like, he's really bad at football, so don't do that.
Although Carson Wentz does have an opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time. He does have an opportunity to Nick Foles this. He has an opportunity.
Patrick Mahomes would have to have his arms cut off, like full Monty Python, and even then, I don't think he would do it. I really don't.
He'd be like, he would find a way to throw it again.
Patrick Mahomes with no arms is probably better at throwing the football than Carson Wentz is with two. So, I mean, We've all watched
Jeez.
Carson Wentz, but all right, let's move
What a
on
fall
to
from grace.
yeah. Let's move on to running backs here. Now, there's two guys here that are they may be starters this week, and if so, you should definitely put them in your lineup because they will get a ton of work. Tajay Spears, 44% rostered, goes up against the Indianapolis Colts. He didn't do a lot on the ground for attempts for 5 yards, but had the really fun touchdown. I don't know if you saw it, where he basically got lifted into the air. After he
Did.
scored, they just basically kind of like, woo, here you go. But did a lot through the air. 6 for 87 and a score on 7 total targets. Uh, Tony Pollard is dealing with his ankle injury. I don't know how healthy he's going to be next week or the rest of the season. So Tajay Spears, this could be closer to a 50-50 timeshare, which is what we saw at one point until Tajay Spears went down to injury. So I do think this is going to be one of those times where he's a guy that we've seen successful in this offense. Even with Derrick Henry on the Titans last year, he was still doing a lot of work. Same situation. It's just, I think down the stretch, who knows what's going on at quarterback. I mean, Will Levis is basically playing himself out of a job, but Mason Rudolph is also not good. So with those two situations, they're going to try to lean on the run game. Next guy here that I want to bring you in, see which one you would prefer to have. Kendre Miller on the New Orleans Saints, 11% roster, gets Green Bay this week. Didn't do a whole lot either, but 9 attempts for 46 on the ground. Had a single target, did not catch it. Alvin Kamara, though, is the big headline here. He left the game early and did not return. Now, Kendre Miller is someone who, I know, Chris, you have him in Dynasty. He's been very frustrated because he's never on the field. The Saints are a very frustrating team to watch and have and invest in any sort of fantasy outside of Alvin Kamara, just for obvious reasons. But Kendre Miller, at the end of the season, we've kind of seen some flashes, and last week we saw a little bit too. You know, he's a little bit shifty, and it's really just comes down to, is he healthy? And does he have the backfield alone? Because who else is there? It's really just Kendre Miller and Alvin Kamara. I don't see how he's not one of these potential league-winning running backs if he gets an opportunity for volume and shows off with it. Like, outside of these two, personally, in my opinion, I would prefer to have Tajay Spears, just because I've seen him do it a little bit more. But there is that chance that Kendre Miller takes this opportunity and finally seizes that moment. So out of those two, is that the way you lean, or are you the other side?
Before I answer, I just want to say that if you are debating between starting one of these two running backs, I am so sorry. Not because I think they are necessarily like bad players, but because, man, it's going to be a horrible situation that you have to like gamble away pretty much your playoff championship contention on one of these two guys.
Well, let me give you a
Going
situation, because it just happened today. Dave Montgomery, season-ending
Yeah.
knee surgery. You had him. These guys are on waivers. You got to pick one. For me, it's Tajay Spears.
So I think, oh man, see, this is tough. It's tough because I think I lean Ty J this week going up against the Colts defense. I think that's just a better matchup. In general, Keandre Miller goes up against Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, and that's just tough. That's just tough in general, right? There's no way around that. I will say that for those of us now, I've never been like I will ride or die Keandre Miller, right? It's more of just like I had him. He just sat there. Hopefully he does good. This if Alvin Kamara does not come in this week, this is actually like a fantastic opportunity, right? This is where you'll be able to see, am I good to drop Keandre Miller? Am I going to try to trade him away? Or is this guy actually going to be something in the future? And for a dynasty perspective. But yeah, I think for at least this upcoming week, which is kind of how I feel like you have to kind of do this, you have to go week by week. I think Ty J Spears is probably the way to go. I think they're very close. I think it's a very even kind of footing here, but I think Ty J in that matchup is a better option.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, go back to last week, the show we were talking about, advice to give. Mine was don't plan too far ahead. Like Kendra Miller might end up being a better Week 17 play, but Tajay Spears might have the chance to get you to there, and then you can figure it out. Like don't only look 2 weeks ahead. There's a time and a place for that. Right now, it's just I got it. I'm in. I want to stay in. So just keep moving. Next two guys here. Let's talk about Sincere McCormick first. As we're recording this, he just did go into the locker room, so this is going to be a chance to see what the splits look like. Is it a major injury? Is he going to come back? We still don't know because the game's ongoing. But that kind of opens up Amir Abdullah and Alexander Madison again. Those are the kind of guys. I don't think we really have to talk too much about it, but the matchup is very, very good. They're going up against the Jags. So they kind of give it up to the running back. So someone there, if they have the work, they could be a very good play. So definitely monitor those reports. Anything else to add on McCormick before we move on?
No.
All right.
I don't think so.
Let's go into Tank Bigsby now. 53% rostered, so there's a chance he's probably on a roster. But if he's not, gets the Raiders this week. 11 for 42 on the ground. Had a target, did not catch it, but continues to just show off how explosive he could be. And this is a team, it's not a good team. The Jaguars are not good. Last week they did a little bit more than I think all of us expected them to. But there is the chance that he gets a decent amount of work against a not a very good team. I mean, right now they're kind of giving it up on the ground. Bijan already has 58 yards on 10 attempts. So there's a definitely a play. Travis Etienne to me, I don't. He's been one of the guys that's fallen off an absolute cliff this year. I know there's a lot of extenuating circumstances. He's been dealing with injury. Quarterback play has been awful. His starting quarterback has been injured. Like, there's a lot of things moving around in the Jaguars team, but it's just Tank Bigsby just looks better. Like, am I wrong for thinking he just looks better as a running back? Like, your plays are better when he's on the field than when Etienne's on the field.
I'm gonna be honest, right? I kind of understand where you're getting from, but I just don't see it nearly as much. Like my eye test is telling me that the Jaguars' offense is far too dysfunctional to even comprehend choosing who's better over the other, right? I think I've seen plenty of flashes from both. I know that I have a feeling that the Jaguars, there must be a change somewhere somehow immediately after the season is done. I don't know what that team looks like after the fact. Tank Bixby 11 for 42 on the ground is not bad. I guess it's not great. I'm not thrilled. I don't want to start that in any capacity, not even a flex. I just think the team is so bad that starting almost anyone on that team is just a trap at this point. I mean, Mac Jones is the pilot. That should honestly tell you enough. It sucks that I do like Tank Bixby and I do like Travis Etienne, but just the way that offense is functioning, it's tough for me to advocate to start either of them.
Looking at Tank Bigsby, I'm looking at his game logs. This week he scored 10.5 half PPR fantasy points. That was the highest score he has gotten since week 3, where he had 10.5 fantasy points. That's pretty bad.
Exactly. Isn't that that was who?
That was Travis Etienne.
That was Travis Etienne. Okay.
That was Etienne.
I think I can't tell if I just misheard or you actually said Tank Bigsby. But yes, okay, that's what I thought you meant though. Yes. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It makes no sense, right? You would imagine that after what happened last year, that there'd be a better kind of role here. It's really tough to trust either of them, in my opinion. What about Tank Bixby? What about his stats?
They're not great,
Yeah.
but it's so Travis Etienne's high was like 13 fantasy points.
Okay.
Tech Bigsby has scored over 23 twice this season. The rest are about average. They're not great. Either way,
Okay.
it's not been great. We don't have to beat
Yeah.
this dead horse anymore, but it's one
I
of the
just wouldn't
things we got
trust
to
the
pay attention to.
boom. That boom bust is not something I want to trust.
Yes, same here. If it's a matchup where you think they're going to be favored, which is highly unlikely, Tank Bigsby would be a better play in my opinion, just because he's the better runner. But now we're looking at wide receivers. There's a couple. One of them, first one is coming off of an injury. He has not played since week 12, coming back from a concussion. So this is just kind of like he was looking good, but then he got the concussion. So and this offense is moving pretty good. Cedric Tillman, 32% roster, gets the Cincinnati Bengals this week, who've been giving it up to the quarterback and their wide receiver. So this is probably going to be a really good Jerry Jeudy game. And I think if Tillman is fully cleared, fully healthy, I think there's a chance you might be able to put him in as a desperation flex play. But it's really difficult. Let's say he gets a full clear. He's ready to go 100%. Are you putting him in your lineup or are you waiting to see?
I need to be desperate to put him in my lineup. I'm not like slotting him in immediately. There are definitely situations in which I can see myself putting in Cedric Tillman, but I'm not doing it off rip. That's not something I'm going to be willing to do. There has to be like an injury or like a really, really bad matchup for me to consider that. Because he is going to be in Cincinnati. Don't get me wrong, that defense is garbage. But so like that's why I'm not saying no. Like I think out of all the boom bust situations that we've talked about so far, this is the one that I'm like, I could see the angle. I could see why you would want to do this. I get it. So, am I going to actively start him? Probably not. But if you do, just know that there's about a 10% chance that I agree with you.
I'm gonna press on the wound a little bit here. Let's throw some salt at it. So, Michael Pittman Jr. or Cedric Tillman?
Cedric Tillman.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, no hesitate. Like without a no, like that's not even a contest. To be quite honest with you, that's just the answer. I'm sorry for anyone who trusted Michael Pittman, me included. I'm sorry for myself. All right. Okay. I was about to say a naughty word. We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on.
In the offseason, we got to talk about all the guys we were high on that did not make it, and the guys we were low. We're going to do a whole series, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun.
I can't wait. Michael Pittman, beware.
Yeah. We're gonna review all the busts. So basically, we'll just throw up a picture of my redraft roster, and we'll just go line by line. It seems to be how happened.
Or you throw my guillotine roster that lost week 1. No problem.
Next guy here, and this is I think my number one waiver pickup for the wide receiver position, Jalen McMillan, or as I'm going to start calling him, Jalen McMillions. 9% rostered, gets the Dallas Cowboys this week. 5 for 75 and a touchdown on 6 targets. That is 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. What are we thinking about Jalen McMillions?
Before we go any further, we have to make sure that McMillions is not trademarked by McDonald's. That's something they would do. That's something they would do.
Sorry, McDonald's, if it is, but if it's not,
sorry, McDonald's.
Sticking.
Sorry, mega billion-dollar corporation McDonald's. We're taking this one, Chiefs. I like it a lot, actually. This one's a little perplexing, given how good the rest of that team is kind of functioning right now. It's not something I kind of would have expected, but I think it makes sense, actually, looking at it from a point of view, like an outward point of view, right? When you think about it, Mike Evans, we don't know what his future's like. Godwin, we don't know what his future's like. McMillan's or McMillions. Sorry, I was combining the two
Get it right,
words.
buddy.
Right,
Get
you
it
got
right.
yeah. Clearly, the future kind of it makes sense. I mean, it seems like they're trying to pave a way to kind of have this fallout plan if they don't get either of them or one of them, right? And they need a second guy in there, like they kind of had for with the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin rotation there. I think it's smart. I think it's a very smart play. I think he's a good flex play this week. I think he's especially going against Dallas, which is once again not great on the defensive end. I think this is a very okay play here. I think that if you need to do it, you can do it. I definitely feel better about Jalen McMillions, sorry, over Keandre Miller or Kendra Miller and Tyjae Spears. I would definitely prefer to start Jalen over those two.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm definitely like I'll put him in the lineup, and I feel like it's gonna just pay off. Like he's been really good the past couple of weeks, and this team clearly needs somebody to step up, and I think that could definitely be him. So I think this is a really good spot for him. Next two guys here, we'll group these guys together. Keon Coleman, 41% rostered up against the New England Patriots, and Romeo Dobbs, 38% rostered and gets the Saints. Coleman was pretty forgotten. He had that one big deep catch, 64-yard catch, because that was his only one on 2 targets. But the Bills, man, I mean, their team is just good. And Josh Allen, the problem is Josh Allen. Like he spreads the ball around and takes so much work by himself that his receiving options are just kind of fluky. Like we saw last week, Mark Cooper didn't get targeted, and they won the game 48-42. Like they did not need any ancillary pieces. So that's the hardest part with these guys. So Romeo Dobbs, 3 catches, 2 of them were touchdowns, 40 yards, 5 targets. So what do you? I'm assuming you'd lean the Dobbs side, correct, over Coleman. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's a far more stable choice given the track record there. It's not that just like Keon Coleman. It's just that like your note right there kind of says it all. Bills are a team you want a piece of, but Josh Allen is taking a ton of points. Like the note kind of. I mean, it's true. It's true. Like it's tough to really want a lot of the Bills like kind of offense when this is happening actively, right? I think Keon Cole might be a good flex play, but Romeo Dobbs is definitely a wide receiver two at best. Low end wide receiver two, but definitely one that you could feasibly put in, especially going against the Saints.
Yeah, Josh Allen, you got to chill out, bro. Like just chill. No more of this.
Stop. Please let my players get points. Please.
I know all of you are probably sitting in playoffs and feeling really good. Like yeah, no, I have Josh Allen. I'm going to win the league. Stop it. It doesn't feel good.
Stop.
It doesn't feel good going against this guy.
What do you mean? You don't like it when your quarterback scores 55 points per week?
He scored 50 points in Snowmageddon. That shouldn't
It was
happen.
pretty great. It was honestly glorious. It was honestly fantastic.
Oh, it hurt. It hurt me emotionally. It hurt me physically. It was bad. Let's just stop, please. His pace is insane.
Yeah,
But
it is.
yeah. Moving on to tight ends. Hunter Henry, 49% roster, gets the Bills. Didn't do that great last week. I apologize. I saw a lot better stat line than 4 for 25 on 4 targets. But it's going to be a game where they're going to be needing to catch up because the Bills will probably come out to a 30-point. They're going to come out to a 30-point deficit, the Patriots. So they're going to need to catch up. And he's a big target for Drake May. Brenton Strange is the guy I want to talk to you about the most, though.
I also want to talk about Brenton Strange, so I'm glad. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, 2% rostered, gets the Raiders. Evan Engram, we found out torn labrum, out for the year, had surgery. He's done. Brenton Strange went 11 for 73 on 12 targets. So that is insane.
It is.
So how are you chasing that volume? Because, I mean, I've said it the entire year. You chase volume at tight end because that's the only thing that separates the tight ends typically. It's that or touchdowns. And touchdowns you can't really predict. You can kind of have an idea, but with a guy like Brenton Strange who just came out of nowhere, are we chasing this 12
This is
target?
tough. This is tough. I'm going to be honest. Because this should not have happened. This is like this is like the Star Wars meme. It's a trap, right? That's kind of what you're like thinking about in your head. But like, Evan Ingram's gone. Mac Jones seems to like the guy. I mean, it might be safe. I'm gonna be honest with you. Going up against the Raiders, whose defense is bad, I would consider it. I'm considering it. I'm not going to give you a yes or a no. I'll be honest with you, because there are some I think I'd rather have. But I will say this. I think, solely because of the matchup, I might prefer him over Hunter Henry. Because the Buffalo Bills is
pretty bold.
It's a mean defense. It's a very mean defense. Right now, I don't know. Have they? They haven't locked everything up there, have they?
Who
Oh, actually, they have. Oh, actually, I take it back. They might not even put all their starters out there, on defense. I take that back. They could very much start sitting people if they really wanted to, or having people get off the field. So never mind. Recant that statement. I'm putting that back into the box. Still, though, if you don't have Hunter Henry, I don't think this is a bad idea. Okay? Truthfully, I think there are much safer options. But if there was ever, I feel like, a position to gamble with, tight end is definitely that position. Because the difference between 0 and 6 points, while yes, could definitely win you a week, if all your other players are kind of busted, right, in terms of like them being good, I'll take the chance on him doing this again. 12 targets, 11 catches. Sure. Why not?
I need you to talk about the next guy because it causes me great pain and discomfort. So go ahead.
So our last tight end here we got going on is Noah Gray. He is rostered in 19% of Yahoo Fantasy Leagues. He's going against the Houston Texans next week.
The tight end one of the Kansas City Chiefs, apparently.
Well, I actually pulled up some stats here for fun.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, so he had 5 targets. He caught 2 of them for 21 yards and a touchdown. According to Matt, this is the clear and tight end one, which I can understand how and why you would see that. I get it. I understand. Allow me to put up some stats for you, my friend. Between Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, I have them in front of me right now. So, in weeks 15 against Cleveland, Noah Gray, we had just said, 5 targets, 2 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown, right? That's good. 9.10 points. That's awesome. Travis Kelce had 8 targets, caught 4 of them for 27 yards. If that touchdown does not happen, this conversation doesn't exist. Not even there. Okay, now week before, right? That's not enough. I get it. I totally understand. Week before, Noah Gray, 5 targets, 4 catches. Where are you? 26 yards, right? Okay. Go back to Travis Kelce. I mean, those fantasy points is 4.6. Travis Kelce, 6 targets, 5 catches, and 45 yards, right? That's 7 points. I could go on to the week before as well, where Noah Gray got 7.8 and Travis Kelce got 10.2, right? Or 10.3. I'm not going to do that, though. The point I'm trying to make here is that, yes, it's very frustrating to see Noah Gray absolutely get that touchdown and these kind of goal line opportunities week after week. I get it. I understand that you may hate that, especially you who traded for Travis Kelce by me, by the way, which is the funniest thing of all. Thank you for your picks.
You're welcome. I think.
Um,
If I win the league, it's worth it. I don't care. I'm not kind of
You know what?
If I win,
Exactly.
have them. I don't need these picks. Who needs
Exactly.
picks?
Um,
Giants don't.
but my thought process here is I'm gonna actually I'm gonna stop. I explained statistics. I gave out the guy. I'm gonna pass it on to you. What do you think about this? Is he a start?
It,
Starting him against the Texans?
I don't want to, but
Okay.
it's very difficult to watch the past couple weeks. Now you have to pay attention too. If Mahomes is not there, all of this is out the door. Then it's Kelsey, and you don't even look at Noah Gray, just because that's what they're going to do. If it's Patrick Mahomes, who is just throwing the ball to whoever's open, and it happens to be Noah Gray, he's worth a look, in my opinion. I don't think you have to start him, but I do think he's worth a look.
May I hit you with a proposition or a hypothetical? Strange or Gray?
I'd probably go Brett Strange. I would chase the target volume because they're going against a defense that allows it to tight end. So I would definitely be more open to Strange. Now, is that assuming Patrick Mahomes is there or not there next week?
We'll say he's there.
I'm still going to go Strange. I think I would still do that.
Cool.
So before we move on, I just want to kind of get.
Yes, I see you put some stuff down.
Yes, I'm looking at things.
You're looking at things. All right. Yeah, you're doing a little impromptu, like literally on the fly. By the way, on our sheet, Lou was putting it in while I was giving the Noah Gray spiel.
I'm looking at Josh Allen's splits the past 2 weeks. Okay, and I wanted to get his 17 game pace if that was sustainable, which it's not. But sometimes these exercises are fun, but they cause a lot of pain. Is
that what I'm looking at right now?
Yes. If he were to continue on his the past 2 games on a 17 game pace, he would be on pace for just shy of 6,000 passing yards, 43 passing touchdowns, 1,275 rushing yards, and another 43 rushing touchdowns. So, with that being said, his fantasy points on the season would be 797 points. Okay? What is his per game? He'd be averaging 47 points per game in fantasy. Stop it. Just stop. You need to stop. All right, now let's move on to defensive streamers. I thought that was fun.
That was fun as he's literally anguishing the entire time.
Yes. It causes great pain. But defensive streamers, I think the number one for me is the Green Bay Packers. The Saints are bad. And it does not matter who is the quarterback. They might not have Alvin Kamara. They don't have Taysom Hill. It's just a bunch of Jags running around the field, getting some cardio, workout, and their quarterback just throwing up lame ducks in the air for interceptions and getting run back for touchdowns. So Green Bay Packers have a good defense. Just throw them in and say thank you. Atlanta Falcons, Giants, usually whether it's Tommy DeVito, who left injured, or Drew Lock. It usually doesn't matter. Both of them, again, aren't very good at the quarterback, and that team just seems like they're giving up. Like, I don't think Dable keeps his job. That's where I'm at right now. I think he's done. I like Dable, but, I mean, it's kind of hard. He was dealt a bad hand, but I think the main problem is in the front office. I think the GM needs to go. He made some bad decisions, in my opinion. Then the Colts, 21% roster, get the Tennessee Titans. Is it Mason Rudolph? Is it Will Levis? Do we care who it is? I don't think so. The Bengals have a really good matchup. Jameis Winston, although he is so much fun to watch, He does like to throw pick sixes. He does like to throw interceptions. He fumbles the ball. You're hoping for a bad Jameis game. And, Jameis and the Bengals defense can both have really, really good games because it just takes 2 pick sixes and then Jameis has to throw 60 times a game for a couple hundred yards and a couple passing touchdowns, and you're still okay. And then the Cardinals defense gets the Carolina Panthers, who have seemingly went full pumpkin. It was looking promising. Bryce Young was looking good until last week when he came back to earth and we saw the old Bryce Young. So out of those, I'm assuming you would agree the Packers are first. Who would be your number 2?
Falcons. Yeah, easily. I think the Packers and the Falcons, those defenses are very close to each other in my books. I definitely like the Packers a little bit more, but I wouldn't be mad if I got the Falcons.
Gotcha. Alrighty. So that is going to do it for us this evening. Chris is just laughing at a note I put in. It'll live there forever.
It's a naughty word. You can't say that.
That's why I didn't say it. I typed it. But so, again, we appreciate all of you listening to the show. If you have any questions for us, please drop a comment in the section below. Like, share, subscribe, as always. We'll be back on Wednesday night with our show. It'll drop Thursday for our Week 16 semifinal starts and sits. I promise this is going to be the week. We're batting 1,000 this week. I'm putting it out there now. So we got a lot to live up to, but we're going to hit it. Oh, we're doing it. Don't worry.
He's putting a lot of weight and expectations on everyone's shoulders right now.
I am. Because the viewers and the listeners deserve the absolute best, and we.
All right, guys. For my wide receiver start of the week, you're gonna start
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase. Yeah.
I said we're batting 1,000. That counts. But all right, everyone.
True.
So long, and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.